to watch this video and evaluate my assignment. In this assignment, I am trying to build a model to predict the electrical energy output to a combined cycle power plant. And I have listed all the steps that I went through for this purpose. The step one for building any model is to understand the business requirements really well, and I went through the Wikipedia of combined cycle power plant to gain that context and to understand that we are trying to forecast energy predictions. Step 2 is to understand the data. So this is the data that was provided to us as part of the assignment, and there are 5 variables shared. So 4 of them are input variables: ambient temperature, exhaust vacuum, ambient pressure, and relative humidity. And the fifth one is our dependent on the output variable, which is PE, electrical energy output. So I understood this data, and I also created histograms of all these variables, the 4 input and the output variables. And I see that the data is continuous in nature, so which means that um, it is possible to use the regression algorithm, and that will be the right fit for the model selection ahead. The step 3 is to prepare the data. So among all the records, I splitted the data into 70%, 15 and 15% for training, validation and test set respectively. So I splitted the records into first 5 6,000 and then 1800 approximately, and then 1800 after that. And I also evaluated the data to assess if it has any null values or any outliers. So I use these histograms to see that the data is within a range, there are not many outliers, and it is clean data. So because this data is clean to use, so there are no further steps in preparation. The next step is required is the feature selection. So I for that purpose I use the data analysis tool of the data tab in Excel, and I notice this output, and some observations were that mean square is coming to be 0.930 if I use all the input variables, all 4 of them, and the significance f is 0. And this is a good news because it seems the correlation is quite high, and there'll be the predictions will be very accurate and close to the real values. I also looked at the individual variables. The coefficient of the other variables were in the similar direction, but AP was a little different. So I decided to um, consider whether AP is should be part of our feature set or not. So I removed AP and I performed the regression test again, and the mean square came out to be the similar or the same value 0.930, which is same as when we are including AP. So I realized that there is not much significance in including AP as a feature, whereas the remaining 3 are providing very accurate data. So after the feature selection, I realized that there should be 3 input variables that are contributing to the predictions very well. The last 2 steps are modeling and the evaluation. So I decided to use regression algorithm, and this will be multiple regression because we are using 3 input variables, and the mean R square came out to be 0.930, which is quite high and accurate. And I noticed the residuals are not very away from 0, so this means that our prediction is pretty good. And I also observed the residual plots to see that the predictions are good. And the last few steps were to validate the data using the validation set, and I used about 1800 records for this, the 15% of data, and my mean R square came out to be 0.983, which is quite accurate. Again, like observing the residuals are not very high, and using the 3 input variables which were selected in the feature selection. And in the test set I used the next set of data, which is again around 1800 records, the last 15% of the data, and I noticed the R square is 0.9270. So this was also a pretty good successful test. So I used multiple regression for this problem. And I chose that model because we are using multiple inputs, and I saw that using multiple linear regression, it is providing high accuracy, and I used root mean square for evaluating the performance of the model. Thank you so much.